What's up guys, it's Cobalt here and welcome back to another video. In today's video I am going to be showing you more custom commissions that I've made recently, but don't worry, later this week I will have some much more interesting content for you guys, so hope you are all excited to see that. Anyways, without further ado, let's get right on into it. Alright, this next commission may look a little bit familiar. As you can see, this is a custom of Death from the new Puss in Boots movie. I have already made this custom before and there is a time-lapse of him up on my channel. This is a totally new one. I just recreated the same custom for this person, so here is a little turnaround. I did talk about my original one in his own video already, but everything about this guy is pretty much the same. So I sculpted this little fur right here, I sculpted the fur inside the ears, I sculpted these angry eyebrows, I sculpted his long muzzle and his teeth and his nose, and I sculpted his claws and these bandages on his legs, as well as his pants and these knee pads, and of course his tail. The cape is made of fabric, and here's what the bottom looks like. You can see his little toe beans, very cute. Mine, I actually sculpted some fur right here, but it ended up getting covered up by the cloak, so I decided not to include that on this one. So I was definitely able to simplify a couple things on this one based on what worked and what didn't work with my original one. And then of course I will do a bit of a side-by-side comparison. I feel like mine does have a bit more details than this one does. So here's what they look like. They both look very cool. Again, this head swap is a Generation 3 Husky on a Generation 2 Great Dane body. If you want to know how the heck I was able to pull off that head swap, I also have a tutorial video of that up on my channel. This commission is one of my realistic style customs, and it is of a snowy owl. This is a commission for my friend Brandon. He said he was going to give it to his sister, so that's pretty cool. For this one, the only things that I sculpted were the feathers on the beak here and then the feathers on the chest, just to give it a little bit more detail than what the actual owl base has. This is my third time making a owl custom, and I think that this one looks really cool. I always have a lot of fun painting these one's eyes, and here is what the bottom looks like. It's very simple color palette wise, but I think that it turned out really cool, and it has a lot of little details that add up to all the feathers. This has got to be one of the coolest commissions that I've ever done, and definitely one of the most complicated. So as you can see, a lot of this doesn't even look like an LPS. It is made with a Great Dane body, which is pretty obvious, but the head is a Dragonfly head, which is the most cursed head swap ever, but I did end up resculpting a ton of the head. But I will quickly show you guys the reference sheet next to the custom so you can kind of see what this character looks like, and it is for this person on Instagram. They are super awesome, and I am so glad that I was able to make this custom because it was just a great experiment and a really fun challenge as well. So let's talk about sculpting. Obviously I sculpted all of this stuff on the head. I had to even resculpt the eyes. His dragonfly eyes were not the right shape that I was looking for. It has this sort of like gem or crystal in its head, which I sculpted. These ears or horns, I'm not entirely sure what they are, but those are sculpted as well. And then it has this hood on its cloak with this sort of like leaf thing that comes off of it. And then of course the cloak continues onto the body around the neck, and then it has all these silver little jewelry pieces on all of the legs, as well as the tail, and obviously I sculpted the entire tail. For this tail, it actually has a 3D printed armature in the middle. It was actually just a scrap piece that I had from a failed print, and so I added that here, and then I covered it in clay so that you don't really see the 3D printed texture at all. So it is a very sturdy tail, will not snap in half at all, and then it has some jewelry pieces on the tail, and then here's the tip of the tail with this cool like moon shape. And this custom is very big, as you can see, compared to my hand, and just compared to the Great Dane body, it has a very long tail. But this custom, again, such a fun and cool challenge to make, and it even has some gradients here on the cloak from purple to blue to green, which I also think is a super cool detail. This little guy is a commission for somebody on Etsy of their first Sona. As you can see, it is made from a Generation 5 Corgi, which is such an adorable base figure. It's definitely one that I want to use for customs more. So for this one, it has a bunch of hair that I sculpted. It's again longer hair than I would normally do, so that makes it a bit more of a challenge. This hair isn't super long though. It's relatively short as far as long hair goes, I suppose. So obviously I sculpted the hair, I sculpted these little horns here, I sculpted the tongue and the tiny little teeth, and of course I sculpted the tail that also has spikes that are similar to the horns. This custom is a really cool design. It has a few gradients on the horns. It has a gradient from purple to black, same with the spikes. There's even a bit of a gradient here where the tail connects to the body from dark gray to this regular gray on here, and then even the ears have their own gradients. Very fun to paint. I love the, simple gray color palette with the splashes of purple, and of course she has these little purple paw pads as well. This character is very cute, and of course here is the reference of the character so you can see how I translated it as an LPS. And I also really love this one's eyes. They're definitely a lot different than I would normally do, and I think that they really help the custom stand out and pop, and I also love her eyebrows a lot. Next up, we once again have two customs that go together. These were both commissions for somebody on Etsy, for the same person of course, and And it's really funny, as you can see, these are both customs of the characters from Zootopia, and I actually like rewatched this movie very recently, and then like the day after I got asked to make these two customs, so I just thought that was funny. I'm gonna start off with Judy Hopps. She is the bunny character. I've actually made a custom of this character before. I will put the photo of that on the side of the screen. I think that was from like 2019 or something, I want to say. So this one I went with a different approach. For these ones I definitely did it more of a stylized pattern instead of sort of realistic fur like I did with the original custom. And then obviously this is a different base figure as well. It's a bunny with the taller ears because I thought that that would just fit her better since her ears are usually up instead of down. Also for this one's eyes, if you know LPS, you know that LPS bunnies, like they have sort of this cheek thing in their eyes, so their eyes are more squinted. I decided to make her eyes fully open because I just think that that looks better. Yeah, and then as for sculpting, I just sculpted her outfit, as you can see. There's also still a bunch of Mod Podge on her body that is drying. All that white stuff, it'll eventually turn clear when it's dry. Now it is time for Nick Wilde, the fox character. I've never made a custom of him before. Again, with him, the only thing that I sculpted were his clothes. So he's got his little shirt, his tie, and his pants. I really love the shape of the tails that these fox base figures have. And again, I just went with the simple markings, very stylized. I like his little eyebrows as well. And then both of their eyes have a slight gradient in them. It's a bit hard to see here, but you can definitely see them better in real life. So once again, here are both of them together. Somebody finally purchased one of my gore customs, and I am so excited about this guy because he is so cool. And it's also been a really long time since I've made a very gory custom, and they're honestly my favorite things to make because they're just super easy. And this is gonna sound weird, but they're honestly really relaxing to paint as well. But anyways, this is another commission for Yeti's Dollverse on Instagram. They have purchased a few custom commissions from me as well as some drawing commissions as well, and I really appreciate that. They're an awesome customer and an awesome friend, and also a really good LPS customizer as well, so you should go check them out. But anyways, for this custom, their only request was that it was a super gory custom and that it was made from a Great Dane, so I took this as an opportunity to experiment with this guy, because usually when I make gory customs, I usually just choose a skin tone as the base and just go with that. But for this one, you know, since it's a dog, I decided that I would add some fur on it as well. So all the gray is like the fur, and then it has some exposed skin with a lot of the wounds on it. So let's take a look at the face first. Obviously, this custom does have a few little sculpted parts. So right here, this sort of eyelid with the scar, that is sculpted to give that eye a different shape. There is this cut on the head that is sculpted, as well as this one on the back of the head. These are so fun to sculpt, and they just look so cool, especially with the glaze on them. And then there's like this wound on its chest here, and then on the side as well, that are both cut open, and that is with some clay. I just think that the painting on this guy looks so good. This is definitely one of the best gory customs that I've done. I just really wanted to go in and get as many little details as I possibly could. And then of course for all the open wounds with the blood, that is a mix of both paint and actual fake blood, and since it's sealed, it means that it won't get messed up or anything. And then of course I added some gloss glaze to make them shiny and like they're super bloody. And I think honestly my favorite one might be this one here on the top of the head. I just think that it looks really cool, especially with the paint job as well. And then with this one's eyes, I just had again some fun with them, and I gave them sort of a more cartoony style, and I just decided to go with blue because I like that color. The next commission is another little sea slug guy. This is of course for the same person on Etsy who purchased the original one, but this guy is pretty much the same. It is again made from a little snail base figure, cut off the shell for starters, and I sculpted this thing here, and I sculpted the fins and this big part at the bottom, along with these little antennas here and the fins on the cheeks. Although this one is a little bit different, it does not have a regular LPS face. I covered it up with some fins because the person wanted me to make it based off of a blue nudibranch sea slug, which you can see here in this photo. That's what they look like. But also they wanted me to sort of incorporate a skull motif into this character. So it has this little sort of skull face, which I think looks really funny and cute. And then you can see like the spine and ribcage design here on the stomach. That's really the only places where I was able to add sort of a skeletal structure. I do think it looks really cool. It is funny though, because obviously these types of animals do not have bones, but I like the idea. I thought it was very creative and a lot of fun. So this one's all blue. The other one was orange and white. This one's like blue and white. And again, it has a lot of little spots and freckles. This thing right here, I don't really know what those are. These little fins, they were very fun to sculpt as well. And I cannot wait to see both of these little guys next to each other in their home together. This next commission was a lot of fun and has a lot of sculpted parts. Let me just zoom out real quick so you can really see all of it. So it has these like massive antlers that are like a circle and connect together, which I think is such a cool little design detail. I've never done anything like this before. I really never sculpt antlers. I've sculpted horns before, obviously, but antlers are definitely a new challenge. But anyways, this was a commission commission for somebody on Etsy of their original character. Here is a little side-by-side of what their character looks like compared to the custom version. I think that their character is so cute and so cool, so I had a ton of fun translating it into an LPS. It's got a few gradients going on. There's a very slight gradient here on the face, and then a bit of gradient on the ears and the legs. Not the best gradient in the world, but anyways, it's got these cute little spots here on both sides. I also painted on some little claws, and of course, there's the adorable paw pads there on the bottom. And I also really like this one's eyes and its cool eyebrows. As for sculpted parts, and I guess the base figure, probably wondering what the base figure is, it is made from a Generation 5 St. Bernard dog, or some sort of dog. I think it's a St. Bernard, but I'm not sure. And then I cut off its ears and replaced them with Generation 2 panda ears, because I cut the ears off of a panda for a different commission, which you'll see later. But honestly, like, adding these ears on this base, like, it pretty much looks exactly like the G5 polar bear, which is really funny. But as for the actual parts that I sculpted, of course, I sculpted these antlers. There is a wire going through them, so they're pretty sturdy. I will level with you guys, though. As I was finishing this custom, I dropped it, and, like, the wire bent, and the antlers broke, but then I fixed it, and you literally can't tell. Anyways, I also sculpted the hair here, the hair on the cheeks, and then all of the fur and hair here on the back. And then it also goes onto the body for, like, sort of a fluffy mane. And then I also sculpted the fluff on the back of all of the legs. And I think, again, this design is so cool. It was very, very cute and fun to make, and I really hope that the commissioner likes it. Anyways, that is it for this video. I ask you guys in every single one of these videos, but please let me know down below in the comments which of these LPS customs was your favorite. I would really like to know. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching this video, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye!